in here.
Hi, it is July 4th, 2018, and this is the Bugzilla project meeting. I'm Dave Miller and got Dylan Hardison here on the other window.
Hello. Today I'm going to give an update on my Modulicious project. And then I have some questions as well about what Bugbot's doing. So I guess we can get started.
Okay.
All right. So this is not yet even in the Harmony branch, but as soon as it lands in BMO, it will be. The long and the short, and I don't remember where we left this off, but I am making a Bugzilla run inside Modulicious because I need various features that Modulicious offers, like authentication plugins and so on. And as a result of this, there's about 1,000 lines changed, or 1,000 lines added. I don't have to change much, but there's quite a bit of new code that had to be written. And as of yesterday, all the tests are passing except for some Selenium tests because there's some weird character encoding issues. What this means in practical matters is that Bugzilla is effectively a Modulicious application. So you can add new things to it using Modulicious instead of adding new CGI files and so on. And pretty much that's the way forward the BMO is taking. And it looks like if I go by the model that I want to release Harmony as a snapshot of BMO, that's where I would start. So that's that. Oh,
Okay.
actually, I have other news. I have other news on the Harmony front. So one of the things that makes Harmony difficult is that we have schema changes that have happened in BMO, and if you are upgrading from an existing database, which is one of the things that we have in the test suite, as we upgrade from previous versions of the database. Currently, I think just 4.2, but my intention is to run the same upgrade test from all previous releases so that we can kind of guarantee that if you have a database sitting around, you can download Bugzilla Harmony and be good to go. So there's been a lot of difficulty in getting that working. Like we're talking like a lot of effort trying to get that to work. But I came up with a solution for an unrelated problem that will be landed this weekend in the Harmony branch, which is a thing called dynamic columns. So as anyone that's ever looked at the Bugzilla code knows, we have our own ORM. Sort of, we don't call it that, but we have a layer that represents objects that are stored in the database, and there's a sort of transparent thing for putting them in there and pulling them out. So the list of columns that are in there are static usually. They're defined in the source code for the model object. So for instance, the group, a Bugzilla group, is represented by the class Bugzilla : group, and it has a set of columns. And the secure mail extension, for instance, adds an extra column called secure mail, and it adds that to the schema, which we version, and like that's handled all nice and well. But it also adds it to the model class. And the problem is that if your database doesn't yet have that column created, then the object, when you go to create it, it requests that column and you get an exception. And this is a really bad chicken and egg problem because in other parts of install time, check setup time code, that is code that's run when check setup is running to migrate the database, if it happens to instantiate a group before the database has been updated, then you get an error, and it's like circular. So you have to go through a bunch of hoops to make sure that doesn't happen. Well, that is no longer a problem because I added a feature to the base ORM class called dynamic columns. And if dynamic columns is turned on, then when you go to construct an object, it will actually look at the database and see what columns actually exist, and it will use those rather than what's in the code, which means that you can upgrade. Now, obviously, this would be dangerous. This would be a dangerous change to make, and this is a change I've made to BMO. So how did I make this change not dangerous? Well, in short of it, this only happens during check setup time. So when check setup is running, if there's columns missing, we kind of expect there to be columns missing, and so we're more flexible there now. This actually removes, I think, the biggest class of upgrade errors that I've been trying to iron out for upgrading from another Bugzilla version to Harmony. So when that gets into the master branch there, hopefully this weekend, that will mean that test failures will be much easier to deal with. So. There's that. Also, someone had wrote to me that they had noticed there hadn't been any Harmony updates in quite a while, and I do apologize for that. But all of my effort had been focused on porting Bugzilla to Mojolicious, which is now the way forward. There's no more the PSGI branch. All of that is not going to be worked on. The way, it's kind of a roundabout way. We still support PSGI, but we support PSGI by virtue of being a Mojolicious application and not natively. And this ends up being a lot better. So if I would really like some help though. So if someone wants to help, if you go to, well, actually they can't help yet, but I will try to port over this to Harmony. I don't like asking the Bugzilla community to help me work on BMO stuff. Like I'd rather, like if people want to help Mozilla, they can help BMO stuff. But if they want to, like if that's not in their interest, then I prefer getting help on Harmony, which has, almost no one helping. But as soon as I get the Mojolicious stuff done, I would like help in testing it in, like really stress testing it and seeing what else we can break, because our test suite coverage is not 100%, and this is like the largest change to the code that has been done in quite a long time. So I will post an update about that, and there will be the code will be in the Harmony branch as soon as all of the tests pass on the BMO side, which is why I'm working on. I'm working on this for BMO predominantly, but it just happens to also be the best way forward for using Bugzilla as a normal web app. Mm-hmm. It's really cool, by the way. So one of the things you get is if you're running Bugzilla, you can run Bugzilla like a web server from the command line. So you can just run a script and you get a daemon running. We could have done that. We did that with Plaque too. We had that working with the Plaque stuff. But this is so much better because there's all these nice things that it does. For instance, you make a mistake. You're testing out some new code. You throw an exception. If you're running Mojolicious in development mode, which is the default when you run it with the command morbo, there's actually two things. So morbo will, one, reload the code anytime it changes. So this gets you back to what you would probably remember when developing Bugzilla as a CGI application. You make a change to code, you don't have to restart anything, you just go back, like hit refresh, and new code is running. That part's really nice. But the other thing is, and I started to talk about and then sidetracked myself to Morbo, is that when running under Morbo, if an exception happens, you will get a pretty error message highlighting the line that the error occurred on with a stack trace and all sorts of little nice bells and whistles like that. So like debugging stuff, like to comparison, developing Bugzilla without this, usually you'll get a 500 error, and then you'll go and check the Apache error log to see what happened, and then you'll have the formatted error message will be like really difficult to read. The development model this way, you run it locally, without Apache or anything, you get an error, it shows you in the browser, and you go and fix it. Now, that only happens in development mode. Obviously, that's not a production thing. So when you run it in a production type mode, it does not do that error tracking. So it is still secure, because obviously it's bad for a web app to give too much information when it's in production. And the good thing is all of these concerns have been handled for us by the Mojolicious project. Like they worry about that stuff, and we can then worry about like actually making a better bug tracker. So I'm incredibly excited about this change, and I wish it was done, but it's like there's test failure still. So if anyone's interested in that, they know where to find me on the internet, and they can help me debug it. But I'll probably figure it out soon, like maybe like tomorrow. Meanwhile, just Dave, what's happening with BugBot and our infrastructure? Do we got a virtual machine thingy hooked up yet that we can migrate our stuff to?
Yeah, not yet. I've been poking around looking for people to find out on that. The last I had heard, we were still waiting on legal entity status for getting paperwork ready to purchase the hosting.
Nice. Okay, cool. Well, we'll get that done pretty soon.
That may have happened by now, but I haven't heard anything from Mike in a while, so I don't know where he's at with it.
Okay. That's good. And I don't think I have any other questions that are relevant to Bugzilla stuff. But also obviously I mentioned in passing that I will try to do another uplift of BMO code to Harmony. That should be really exciting for everyone if you've not been paying attention. Bugzilla UX has been adding a lot of neat things to BMO over the last couple of weeks, including a red notification thing. So when you go visit a bug, you get to see highlights of the changes that have happened since the last time you visited, provided that you're logged in. And that's really nice. And there's like a bunch of other stuff in the pipeline too, including suggestions for the search box to help you find things faster. And and also I think this was just Dave, you'll know how old this bug was, but there's now a attachment size limiter. So if you try to upload an attachment that's too large, the page itself will tell you. And there is now, although not merged yet, there is a patch that gives you a fancy drag and drop file upload, which also lets you copy and paste files into it, and it shows you a preview of what you've done. So there are lots of nice UX things coming to Bugzilla, courtesy of on Twitter at Bugzilla UX.
Yep.
So
yeah, I've been seeing that. He's been posting screenshots of it on Twitter, so that's pretty cool looking.
Yep. So when I say in passing that I will be merging what's in BMO to the Harmony branches probably this weekend, that means that all of that nice things comes to that branch. I realize, of course, that getting that branch running is still more difficult than it should be, but that's the primary thing that I do on the Bugzilla side is trying to patch up the Harmony branch and make it runnable, like make it a polished product. And the chief thing that if anyone wanted to really help with that, that would be super good. It doesn't take a lot of work. Let me rephrase that. The work that is needed could be done in small parts and really just matters of trying to get it running on various environments. Different Linux distros, obviously, but different environments could also mean like setting up a Helm config to make it easily deployable to Kubernetes, or getting it to run on some other kind of platform as a service thing. Like it's entirely possible to take the Docker container that you can build for it and run it in Google's Docker App Engine thing. I've actually done that myself, but it's not polished, so there are lots of options for things to do if anyone is interested. But if not, I just want to clarify that because we always ask for help. Even in the absence of that, and I don't want to discourage any, I'm really confident that by next month, probably the next time we're meeting, August, probably by August, there'll at least be a beta that you can download and run on the majority of supported platforms. So we will be at that release, though, we will be dropping or deprecating at least support for running under Apache. Like if you will continue using Apache, then you will be running under the Plaque module for Apache. What is it called? Apache handler, or no, Plaque handler Apache 2 will be what happens. And it'll be seamless. You'll still configure it like the same way. Mod Perl PL will still be there, but it will be running through the Modulicious layer. And that will be not a recommended way of running. Like at that point, you should just run it under one of Modulicious's things, which has the main production one that I'm aware of that has the awesome name of Hypnotoad. So you'll run it with Hypnotoad. There's a bit of a Futurama theme in the naming convention that they use, which is amusing. But if it's not also obvious, this whole Modulicious decision is a bit of a crystallization of a strategy, because the previous strategy with PSGIs, we're adding yet another supported thing. So you have like, we can run as a CGI and we can run under Mod Perl and we can run there as a PSGI. All of those modes of operation are still available. Like you can run Modulicious as a CGI as well, but it simplifies the amount of work that I have to do to maintain the software, because those details are no longer in the Bugzilla code base, they're outside of it. And I think that will make a big difference to its longevity. See if we can survive another 10 years or 20 years, maybe. I doubt software will be anything recognizable in even 10 years, but we'll see.
It's lasted this long.
Yep.
Of course, it doesn't look anything now like it did 10, 20 years ago anyway.
I don't think it looks like it did even 2 years ago now, because of some of the stuff that Bugzilla UX has done. It's quite impressive. Anyways, that's all I've got. I don't have anything else to talk about. I don't think there's anyone else here. Dave, do you have any other questions about stuff that's going on or priorities? Or I don't have any other questions for you, unfortunately. I didn't prepare very much.
Well, I can't think of anything at the moment, so you've covered most of the stuff I was curious about.
Cool. All right. I'll talk to you later. By next month, hopefully, Dave, I might give you a patch to review, which is seeing if you can download the Bugzilla Harmony and run it on a random Linux machine without too much effort.
Okay.
So that will be
Cool.
I'm gonna start giving you some reviews. I'll give you a few reviews like that because I think I'm so close to it that sometimes it's difficult to know what's difficult. So you might be able to help me get those things. Make it smooth out the installation process, basically.
Cool.
Done.
So, guess that's it for today. We'll see everybody next month then.